Hey, Scott Finlay here with Georgia Plumbers Trade Association, and standing in front of something you don't see very often. This is a solar water heater. This has been installed by a neighbor of mine who happens to be a chemical engineer, and he is also originally born in China, and he explained to me that you see these quite often over in China. They use these for hot water heating. Not very common here, and today I'm going to go ahead and just talk to you about some reasons why if you start doing internet searches on doing thermal solar hot water heating, why you don't see a lot of positive feedback around that, a lot of positive information online. And really the reason for that is in the early 2000s they started making advances in solar photovoltaic. And if you ever seen solar panels on somebody's roof, that's typically what you see is photovoltaic cells. And it was about that time in the early 2000s where they advanced so far with the solar photovoltaic cells, along with the hot water heaters that some of y'all might have seen on display in your supply houses that had the heat pump units on top of those. And what you find is, while these are 60 to 70% efficient at converting the sun's energy into heat solar energy, photovoltaic cells by themselves are only 24% efficient. However, when you combine that with a tank water heater with a heat exchanger on top, that makes the photovoltaic much more efficient, which is why there's this, if you go online and you read, people will say, well, this right here wastes half the energy that it produces, which is true, because you're gonna have these tubes right here. What you're seeing right there is the sun's beating down on those tubes. It's heating a solution there, some glycol solution, going up here to this 80-gallon tank that you see up there, which acts as a heat exchanger. And that's heating, roughly 80 gallons of water that can go back into the house. Now, if that's not used, all that energy is essentially lost if it just sits there and it's not used. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention up here, this garbage bag that you see up top, December 2022, a lot of y'all are familiar, it's the first time we had single-digit temperatures in Georgia. So they had to come out here. That's actually a thermal expansion tank, and they had to come out here and wrap that up and all the associated piping with it to keep it from freezing up during the freeze, and they just haven't de-winterized it just yet. But all that water in here that takes place in that heat exchanger goes inside, and they have a gas 50-gallon water heater on the inside too. So that's filling up that gas water heater, and perhaps at night, or if we're in the winter time and temperatures aren't warm enough to give them the temperatures they need coming straight out of the solar, that gas water heater will intermittently cut on and give it just a little boost to get them up to the 120 degrees that they want in the house. But I want to go back to the explanation of why you don't see a lot of these here in Georgia. And like I said, the big push is to put solar panels on the roof. However, in the state of Georgia, we don't have what's called net metering. So for some states, 33 states in the United States, states like Ohio, most of our states, they do what's called net metering, which means if you had photovoltaics on your roof and you produce more electricity in a given day than you consume, then you're able to put that energy back on the grid, and the power company will pay you the same rate that you're consuming power from them. But as in Georgia, we're not a net metering state, and so Georgia has essentially credits you for what you put back on the grid at what they call the avoided energy rate, which is essentially what they would have to pay for electricity if they went in and bought it on the open market, or similar to the wholesale rate. So to give you an idea, the avoided energy rate in Georgia is currently 6.6 cents per kilowatt hour versus a retail rate of 13 cents per kilowatt hour. So you can see right there that they're only going to buy your energy. And this is only Georgia Power, by the way. None of the EMCs are required to purchase any electricity back from you. And in addition to that, Georgia Power caps the number of customers that they're doing that they're buying that energy back at 5,000 customers. So essentially, if you were to produce electricity using photovoltaics, you're only going to be able to sell back to the grid if you're A, Georgia Power customer, B, one of those lucky 5,000, and C, you're going to get about 50 cents on the dollar for what you would put back on the grid. Versus if you put one of these here, you don't have to go to the trouble of all the infrastructure that goes on your roof, the changeover system from essentially the power being produced to being able to put it into AC. There's a lot of hardware involved in that goes in your basement. It's estimated to produce enough electricity for an average home of 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. Your buy-in costs are anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000 with a photovoltaic system. One of these units right here, you can put these in for anywhere between $2,500 upwards of $5,000. You do need this unit you see right here. You got a pipe inside. You do need a either gas or electric traditional unit inside that's piped to. Companies like Rheem will have essentially just the tube system that you're seeing here with a glycol heat exchanger inside. But this one, of course, has the heat exchanger up there. But you still need the traditional system to make up heat when it's not producing quite enough heat with your traditional thermal system.